Hi, I'm Josh Halpern. I've been working with LibreText since about 2014. I've been retired from teaching since about 2017, used to teach at Howard University, and I'd like to share some opinions with you today. If you think these are interesting opinions, or you think that I really need to be told how wrong I am, come to the Zoom meeting that I've set up on Thursday at 3:30 p.m. That's during one of the tea breaks, and we can discuss the issues. So the title of the talk is the 5Rs plus 2. And the idea is that beyond the 5Rs, we have to add two more to describe the rights of learners to actually read the material, that the material is accessible, and to reach it, to be able to actually have it in front of them. Now, we've all seen this. Probably this will show up about 10 or 15 times in this conference. But the question I want to ask is, who ordered that? And the answer is that the person who pays is not the person who orders. And that's one of the reasons that medical services and educational materials have increased so strongly in price. Now, the people who sell these things know this, and they market to the physicians and to the instructors. But the other question is, who bought it? There are lots of people today that are going without medicine, but there are also lots and lots of our students who are going without their books, and that's a shame. If they either don't purchase the book and have trouble with the class, or they find some other way to get the book on the internet, or they borrow a book from somebody, several students share a book, and this is one of the driving forces behind the marketing of homework systems, that it's a way to force students to pay the piper, to pay the publisher. Another thing that's very concerning to me is that students don't build a library. They don't retain ownership of their books. And that means the next semester they might need something that was in that book that they sold back, or they rent a license that's no longer any good. And they're missing that. And then in later life, they don't have it. This was my general chemistry textbook, bought it in 1962. Still has some useful tables and things in it. So printed textbooks have been with us more than 500 years. And you ask any faculty member, and they'll tell you, well, it was a pretty good textbook, but I skipped sections. I taught things in a different order. I gave out my own material for this chapter or that. I corrected things that were wrong. And the truth is, students hate all of this. It confuses them. But why don't faculty adopt OER? We know this. Again, this slide in one form or another will be seen 10 times this week. There's not enough resources, no comprehensive catalog, not enough support. That's what a lot of instructors are looking for. You need an online homework system. So why open textbooks? Well, the major advantage is the ability for anybody to create material to better fit their course and students. And one interesting example that I've come across or thought about is, think about all the books that talk about white Christmas. Now think you're growing up in Los Angeles. There's never a white Christmas. What happens in California is, if you're lucky, you get a green Christmas. So just a simple thing like that, if you can take the white Christmas out of your textbook and put in that's the start of the rainy season, that will come across to people who are growing up in California. Okay, the 2-minute sign's gone up and I have to get moving. When we think about OER, we think about the 5Rs: reuse, redistribute, remix, revise, and retain. The problem with this is the 5Rs are the rights of creators and instructors. What we need are students' rights, 2 more Rs. The right to have material that's accessible to them, which I called readable or read, and the right to be able to get the material somewheres. In the COVID emergency, for example, there were students sitting out in their cars in parking lots in front of institutions that had Wi-Fi so they could basically see their lessons. That is unacceptable. So let's go with the first one, the right to read the content. And I'm going to go now to in terms of LibreText and what LibreText has done. Other people have other solutions, but I think the points remain. We start with uniform formatting, which lets us use automation to both curate and identify problems with accessibility. Now, we have a function in the system where you can change the size of the text. So if you have low vision, that helps. You can also make wider margins. That makes it easier to read. You can go to a dark mode. And we have something called a beeline reader, which lets us pick out phrases in the text, which makes it easier for people with dyslexia and other issues to read. Availability. Well, we're available online. We've made a choice to use a commercial system which has very high uptime. The one time it went down that I can remember, I was giving a workshop. It was not cool, but that was 2 years ago. You don't need IT, and that means that you save a lot of money. It's importable into your learning management system, and everything can be printed as a PDF. Plus which, we have a download center where you can actually print books. One interesting feature we have, which I think is quite good, is if you have a video or some sort of app in your text, we put a QR code on it, and the QR code can be accepted by your phone so you can actually view the video. Every book has a physical text. You can search it by college. You can search it by author, tags. You can go look in all the libraries. If you look at any book, you can go online, PDFs, learning management systems, zip files, and you can buy a print copy. You can look at the table of contents if you want to use it. There's PDF file, and you can buy a printed copy. We print through Lulu, or you can take the files and print it with your own just-in-time printer. We have a global reach. Right now, we just passed 500 million site visits. The problem with online OER is there are regions where there's no internet and there's no electricity. So what we've done is we've built LibreText in a box, built on a Raspberry Pi, provides internet-free access, and you can hook it up with a Wi-Fi hotspot and a solar cell and run it anywhere. Something that I really like is the idea, and this can be used by anybody, that you can get a lot of content, OER content, onto an SD card. Many more people have smartphones than have computers. You can take an SD card and put it in an envelope and mail it just about anywhere in the world. So let's talk about free. We're trying to free the textbook. And available for all means free. Now, today, teachers use lots of different kinds of materials. And we can actually bring these into our printed electronic OER. We need to get into the 21st century. We don't need to reproduce the textbook that we have on our shelves. We need to stop thinking about individual textbooks And we need to start thinking about interconnected OER systems. So in our model, we have the libraries, which have the textbooks, and we have annotation and homework and executable code and JavaScript server and learning analytics and bot curation and actually an intermediate LMS system. So instead of the instructor pointing students to some URL of a PDF, the students can communicate either directly or through their own learning management system with all of these services, with this ecosystem. But freeing the textbook means more than eliminating debilitating costs. It means providing students the textbooks they need to succeed, that they can use. It means getting the curricula free of the straitjacket of printed textbooks. When publishers' representatives used to come see me and say, we have this great new textbook, I used to say, fine. I used to say, okay, let me pull a textbook down from my bookshelf, and I will bet you that your table of contents is exactly the same as the table of contents in this book. And it means giving the teachers the tools they need to create the materials that break free of the printed text. Thanks for listening. See you at tea.